very interesting situation here today. I think, definitely think I might be in the minority on this one.
It's okay, baby. Let's give the people what they want.
And today we have Joker, Folie, Deux. I believe the rough translation in English is Folly of Two, for reasons that, I mean, as you can assume, just based on it being Joker and Joker and Harley, fairly evident why it's referred to as such. I actually want to give a quick shout out to, again, not sponsored because, you know, why would I be? I'm not a big enough boy yet to be sponsored by Regal and Regal Cinemas, but this was a early access quote-unquote fan event. So if you are unaware, Joker Folie Deux is the sequel to 2019's Joker, which has received mostly positive acclaim. I think both of the critical but also of like the fan and individual viewer variety. Most people that I've talked to, there's plenty of holdouts for sure. Most people are big fans of the first movie. And returning director Todd Phillips is back to direct this one as well. And Todd Phillips, surprisingly, not the biggest filmography. He hasn't directed a film since Joker, so it's been almost 5 years. But did I cover the first Joker? I did not. Double checking. I didn't think that I did, but I did with my gal pal because she hasn't seen it yet. So the night before we went to go see Joker Folie Deux, I rewatched and showed her for the first time the first Joker film. If you want to go back further in his filmography, he also directed War Dogs, which I thought was a fun movie, right? Like, is it an Oscar winner? Perhaps not. If you really want to get into it, directed like every movie in the Hangover trilogy. And then Star Power, you've seen him all over the posters and the trailers and all that. Both very big household names, but you have Joaquin Phoenix, who has been in a plethora of films that I enjoy. I'm a very big fan of him as an actor. I think even if the movie's not great, Joaquin always turns in a stellar performance just about every time. And then Lady Gaga as well, who's known mostly for her music career, but has been showing up more and more in films, and I think that she handles herself well whenever she's involved. I think the only time that I've covered her in a film so far was in House of Gucci, and my god, like, not only did I like House of Gucci, but her in that role, like, I could watch her and Adam Driver go to Pound Town for hours, I tell you what. Little side note here, I don't know if he's gonna get enough credit, I doubt that he will, but I really want to give a shout out to the actor Leigh Gill. Dude, this guy in this movie, like, almost brought me to tears in the one scene he was in, because he reprises his role from the first film. No big spoilers, I mean, there's a court case involved, you're gonna see some witnesses from the first movie show up. I would love to see more of his work. Hopefully he gets more roles based off this role alone. So anyway, we saw this early access Monday night. We were a little bit split. Half of us really enjoyed this, and then the other half not quite as much. One of my friends, who's a very big Batman fan, I believe his exact words were, "This film does not need to exist."
I disagree.
I really enjoyed this film. I don't know if I would say more than the first one, but I love the direction they took things in with this movie. In order for me to truly express why I liked this, we will eventually have to get into spoiler territory, so I'll let you know when that comes up. Arthur Fleck, or the character of Arthur Fleck, has been in prison for a hot minute now. But if to me, the story of Joker Folie Deux feels like a natural continuation of the story. I admit this story and movie probably only created due to the success of the first Joker film, and then I'm sure the studios wanted to capitalize on that and wanted to reap more financial rewards. I believe there was enough room to work with here to get a continuation and an overall 2-movie arc for the character of Arthur Fleck. It's funny because people were excited when a new Joker movie was announced, but when it was announced, it was going to really double down on the musical components and the musical aspect of the first film. Because the first film, people forget, the first film, though not ad nauseum, it does have moments of song, moments of dance here and there, interpretive or artistic though they may be. And this one, like, there's even more so, like, not like ABBA style, but there are little musical numbers, whether it's just Joaquin by himself or dancing with Gaga's character of Lee, etc., etc. I really liked how this quote-unquote jukebox musical aspect of it was portrayed. They're all songs that one way or another thematically tied to the characters or their state of mind, how they're feeling, perhaps the situations they're in, the environment around them. They all tie in, and more often than not, and as is suggested in the trailer, no spoiler, it's literally suggested in the trailer, they're often in his mind. Like, sure, he sings, sometimes while he's in prison or out loud or to Gaga's character of Lee, but if they're the more grandiose musical numbers, they're all in his fantasy, they're all in his head. The musicality of them, it's all internalized, and it reflects his state of mind. Performances and soundtrack, whether it's our main leads, any additional characters, protagonists, antagonistic forces, side characters, randos off the street, I think all performances are great. Joaquin in the first Joker, I thought, brought the character of Arthur Fleck a very layered portrayal of mental illness, and he continues to do so in this movie, going back and forth with this persona of Joker, or who the character of Arthur Fleck really is, and you can tell there's a lot there under the surface, and he does a very good job of bringing that forward in every scene he's in, and communicating emotion a lot just in the eyes, or the physicality, or just all the telltale signs of a great actor. And I would argue Gaga does the same, maybe not to the same extent or skill or nuance that, Phoenix would bring, but I still think, the prowess is up there for sure. Again, seeing this in IMAX was even better, but I love the direction of the film. I love the cinematography, the shots, the color palettes, all the usual stuff, but just the way these shots are composed, whether it's like slow zoom outs, whether it's the use of silhouettes or lighting, or the difference in, the fantasy sequences or real life, and then just seeing that brought in IMAX with 4K resolution, everything looked crisp, and everything looked like it was just this balance of saturated colors, and the grandiosity whenever he's envisioning himself on the stage, or seeing the world as a stage, or just, I can go on and on. Perhaps not enthralled by the movie, but I was definitely gripped visually, and I was curious to see where the narrative would go, and I was along for the ride, and I was experiencing it, and the way they were able to take the soundtrack from the first movie and slightly evolve it, and then blend that. If you want just the overall score, skip to that timestamp, and then you'll get the actual score. But I think what I really enjoyed most about this, and one of my friends that was part of our group, we really vibed on this ideology, and we agreed on it heavily. It's very much similar to what this year's earlier release of Civil War did. If you haven't already seen the movie, marketed and advertised itself as a war movie about there's an American Civil War, and how did it happen, and what's going on. But the film ends up actually being a very poignant and meaningful commentary, and a conversation to be had about journalism, specifically photojournalism, and the overall moral ambiguity of it, and the Civil War aspect of it more or less happens to be a backdrop for that. We don't get the classic Joker Harley dynamic that we're all so used to in the DC and the Batman mythos and the culture and all that. But I love this. So the movie, it very much is a subversion of expectations, in that all the people that kind of gravitated towards this character of Arthur Fleck in the first movie, that saw him as an underdog, or maybe perhaps the hero of the story, they're the same ones that miss the point about all these characters, whether it's Arthur Fleck in this, whether it's Taxi Driver, whether it's damn Homelander and The Boys, whether it's Rick and Morty. They gravitate towards these characters, very either negative or in nihilistic headspaces, or consider themselves put upon or on the lower dregs of society, and that the answer to it is to rise up to
werewolf and go wild.
In this case, embrace the mental illness more or less, and become these counterculture characters. But this film subverts that. It has the character of Arthur Fleck actually genuinely question himself, who he is, what he is, because the whole defense in court is, Joker's an alternate personality, and by the end of the movie, he's kind of recognizing the fact, whether I embrace that defense or whether I embrace Joker as this character that everybody wants to see me be, by the end of it, he's no, it's just me. That was just something I was hiding behind, a character that I'm embracing, an alternate personality. End of the day, Joker didn't kill those people, didn't inspire all of this. It was me, mental illness and all. And subsequently, by the end of it, the character of Lee, like the Harley Quinn surrogate character, she becomes disillusioned with Joker, and she ends up, instead of Joker being the one to leave her, she kind of leaves him behind in the dust and is like, you know, I might be the manic pixie, mentally ill dream girl of your dreams, but you're not mine. Granted, that plays into a con of the film for me, which is that, yeah, sure, selfishly, I would love to have seen that Joker-Harley dynamic, you know, escape out of prison, tear up the town, become the king and queen of Gotham, or what have you. All of this, like, this movie really is almost less about, like, the character of Joker and Arthur Fleck and more about the people in Gotham City and the culture surrounding this and the impact that his actions have had and what then society does when it takes that baton and runs with it. And I really appreciate the film doling it out that way. I liked the subversion. I liked how it was. It didn't just feed into what everybody was expecting, but it gave us something that was significantly different, as Bo Burnham would say.
Challenges to the form, you know.
It actually had me wondering about the character, asking questions, and our protagonist to have this introspection. And even for the movie to end the way that it did, it all just felt appropriate for me. Spoiler talk aside and all that, I thought all that went into it made it good, whether it was the acting, the direction, cinematography. I liked the musical aspect in relation to character states of mind. For those that didn't listen to the spoilery side section of this, I liked the use of subversion in the film. So is it a perfect film still? Perhaps not. There's still aspects of that subversion I would have liked to have seen not subverted, perhaps, like alternate timeline wise. There were some things that selfishly I wanted more from the film, especially in regards to our two quote-unquote protagonists or anti-heroes or whatever you want to call them. But end of the day, I like that this movie was kind of a big middle finger to the incels that latched onto the character of Arthur Fleck and Joker to begin with, as you see via the Gothamites in the film. I like what this film did. I like what the film had to say via its director and writers, almost as a response to our real-life society and the way that we grabbed on to all that. You saw it on the culture after the movie came out. You know, we live in a society, right? Again, in the minority, I'm pretty sure, but I would happily give Joker Folie Deux a high 4 out of 5. A high 4 out of 5. It's up there for me. Would it make top 10 for the year? Perhaps not. I thought it was a really, really good film. Is it better than the first Joker? Let me posit this. Similar to how Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 are considered one overall film by Quentin Tarantino, I consider Joker and Joker Folie Deux all the same story. I say watch them back to back together, and I think that is your film. You know, that makes for a damn near like what, 4+ hour experience perhaps, but I think that Joker and Joker Folie Deux, it's all the same arc, all the same story, with a bit of a tonal shift toward the middle that kind of changes as Arthur's story progresses and changes. But I think because this film is not what a lot of people are expecting or desiring, it's going to get poo-pooed on by a lot of your general audiences. But personally, MovieMan really likes it. I believe it still paid respect to like DC lore and these characters, but just a different interpretation of it all. That's all I gotta say about Joker Folie Deux. Thanks again to Regal for the early access fan event. I wish I was sponsored. Feel free to sponsor me. And stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.